Welcome to episode 120 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and this is a special episode, Apple's high speed event. This was their event that was to announce the HomePod Mini and the iPhone 12 line of iPhones. I was joined by Mr. Mike Potter from Mac Eyes Only, who hosted the show and also edited it. I really appreciate it. Mr. Chuck Joyner from Mac Voices, Gary Malpas from mymac.com podcast, and Erickson. We react to all the announcements that happened during this event. It was really exciting and some great new products that came out. So to give it a listen, I hope you enjoy it.
It's for Mac Eyes Only, episode number 384 for October 13th, 2020. Reaction time. Apple's high-speed event. I'm not really sure how to say that. High-speed event. The high-speed event. There we go. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to For Mac Eyes Only, the show for the Mac community, where we share our thoughts and opinions on current Mac news and events. And we're back. Apple is definitely taking a slightly different tack this fall by separating their events into bite-sized chunks of goodness with a focus on the Apple Watch last month, we believe, I think we're pretty sure, the iPhone today, and we hope the Mac next month. Sitting with us today is For Mac Eyes Only co-host Eric. I'm available to react, Erickson. Howdy, Eric. How are you doing today?
Hello. How you doing?
Very well. Very well. The voice of Mac Voices, Mr. Chuck, I'll be reacting one way or the other, Joyner. Hi, Chuck. Thanks for taking time to be here today.
Hey, thank you for having me, Mike. It's always a blast.
There are little inside jokes with everybody's intro there. And, of course, the co-host of the My Mac podcast, spending his evening with you and not his family. It's Gary. It's not a grin, it's a mask. Malpas. Hey, Gary, how you doing?
I'm very well. Looking forward to what's up and coming, as usual.
Up and coming. And joining me again today in another simultaneous recording of shows is the host of In Touch with iOS, Mr. Dave Ginsburg. Hey, Dave, how are you doing?
Hey, good to be here, Mike. Doing real well.
Now, as I just said, this is a simultaneous recording of our two shows for Mac Eyes Only and In Touch with iOS. Dave, did you want to go ahead and do your intro right now?
I will do that. This is a special edition. Welcome to episode 120 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. And I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, along with my other host, Mike Potter. And let's go ahead and dive into the Apple high-speed event that's about to start right now.
The high-speed event. Yes, the colors are pulsing on my screen. What an exciting day. Not only am I attending WooSesh, which is a conference for WooCommerce developers, it's also Amazon Prime Day, and there's some little thing going on in Cupertino from a fruit company that's known as Apple. What are you guys most excited for today?
iPhone.
Everything.
Everything, Chuck says.
No discrimination.
Who's waiting for a new iPhone so they can rush out and get one as soon as they're available?
Me, of course.
Well, of course. Who isn't is the better question, Mike.
Right.
Well, Dave, you are actually on the refresh program. What's the official name of that program?
The the iPhone upgrade program. Yep.
Now, what's the rumored name of that refresh program?
I forgot. That just came across this morning. I didn't see that. You have to refresh my memory on that one.
Yeah, I have to refresh my memory too, because I already forgot. But apparently they just trademarked.
Lifetime upgrade. That's it.
The lifetime upgrade, yes. So we're anticipating. They've been using that name in other countries, I understand. But you're on that refresh program, so you do get a new iPhone every time one comes out. Which model do you get?
I always get the Max. I have the 11 Pro Max currently, and I'm probably going to have to wait a month from what the rumors said to get the 12 Pro Max.
Yeah, they're at not only it might be a month out, but also a larger screen, I understand.
Right. 6.7, they're saying.
That's crazy. That's crazy. 6.7.
I have to tell you, they've already said it. They've just announced the new HomePod.
Oh, that was the other rumor today, that the HomePod was coming out. Eric, do you have a HomePod?
I do. I actually have two. Because I like the stereo speaker thing, and it works really well as like a Apple TV, like if you're watching a movie or whatever. And I have them in the bedroom, and so it works pretty slick. You
set them up as they join to give you a stereo output. Now, it's not a stereo device on its own if you have one.
Right. Yeah. There's probably not enough separation to do that. It's kind of more of a typical speaker. I mean, it's a really good. The audio is really great, but yeah, it doesn't really do that by itself.
And how about you, Gary? What are you looking forward to today? Are you going to get a new iPhone?
Well, yeah, I was going to jump in when they said who's not going to be getting an iPhone. I've been we've got a bit of a process, which I think I've explained before, where one phone goes down to a member of the family and their phone drops down to another member of the family until the last one in the line, who doesn't really care what phone they've got, gets the oldest phone that we've got available to us. And then I try and recycle those once we go through the process again. I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I can update each year at the moment, although this year it's a little bit different with things happening all around us. And I'm slightly more hesitant this year about getting a new phone than I have been for a number of years. And that's because I'm not quite sure what they're going to give me, which is going to blow me away, where this current phone that I've got is, the 11 Pro is going to be surpassed. So for the first time in a number of years, I am very much on the bench about whether I'm going to get the next iPhone. I am excited about these mini pods. What they call them again? HomePod Mini.
HomePod Mini.
Yeah, I'm quite excited about this, and I think this is an absolute must for Apple, an absolute must. But we'll see. We'll see what they bring along, and we'll see just how many more new exciting features they persuade us to buy.
Well, as the co-host of My Mac, I was going to ask you about the high hype title of the episode this week. It seems as if maybe the two of you were feeling things were a little overhyped this year.
Well, I think Guy generally does the titles, if I'm perfectly honest. And I only occasionally throw in. I only occasionally throw in the odd title, so you'll have to ask Guy how he feels about that. I don't think it has been overhyped, although obviously in the last 2 days we've had so many rumors which have come out saying this is what it's going to be, this is what it's going to be. So whether they've had a pre-release accident or not, I don't know. But I didn't think the hype for this event was quite as bad as it has been in the past, if I'm honest.
Now, with the HomePod Mini, Dave, and a number of other devices from competing companies coming out in just the recent weeks, it seems like we have I don't know. I don't want to say an overabundance. I guess it is an overabundance of home speaker systems to choose from. If I recall, you've experimented with a number of these different systems in the past, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm the crazy person. 2 HomePods sitting next to me here. Plus, I have my Sonos Move, and I got a Google hub that I have, and Google Smart Speaker that I've been experimenting with. But Google just did announce a couple weeks ago is the Nest speaker, which was at the $99 price range, what they were saying. But one of the good things I'm seeing with this new HomePod Mini is they've now added not only the S5 chip, which is the similar chip that's in the Apple Watch, is the U1 chip that they put in the iPhone last year for the intelligence, and so it's. This could be a much more improved HomePod, that's for sure, with having those in there. With that, bringing in everything the way it will work a lot more efficiently. I have struggled with the old HomePod. Yeah.
Can I jump in and ask a question, Dave, if I may?
Of course.
How many people are in your house?
Just myself and my wife.
Right. So does she use the HomePod as well? Because the reason I asked that question is there are currently 4 people in my house, 3 of whom will definitely want to use a HomePod type device. Yeah. And my only hesitation in getting these sorts of devices is the interaction between the different people.
Right. Which they have made some improvements with having identifying voices.
Right.
Interesting you bring that up, because I happened to be watching a video that was with iOS 14 as I was doing my presentation tomorrow on my iPhone SIG, and they of course I had the volume on and it was saying "Hey S lady," and it would start picking up and it would start saying something, and it's like, I don't understand your voice. Can you tell me who you are? So that was one of the things they did add as improvements with voice in the HomePod, and it's going to probably be even more improved with this HomePod Mini now that they've added those that U1 chip and making it more accurate, as they just spouted out here on the video.
I'm just smiling. I'm just smiling slightly because that's exactly what they're now talking about on the video. They're talking about multiple people. So yeah,
right. Yep, because they've been showing the video where you can have it all around the house. You could have, if they start talking about this, you know the speaker is going to be a good price. And I'm thinking $99. I think that's going to be, they're going to sell a ton of them. I'm telling you.
It's quite an impressive layout of speakers within the device, considering its size. Do you really think that's going to sell for as little as $99?
It's very possible, but who knows with Apple? It could be $199 for all we know. We'll see, but they're really aiming this towards not only with sound and audio. They want to do with smart home too, being able to use that HomePod, because the HomePods now don't work real well with smart home. I mean, they work okay, but making better access more than ever. I mean, they're showing the Ecobee thermostat, which I have now, which is awesome, and Ecobee even has built-in Amazon in it, Amazon Echo, so I was able to turn on that so you stand in front of your thermostat, you can ask Amazon a question, and it has a speaker. So there's I think that's really where things are going right now with this stuff. It's pretty impressive.
I'm just going to throw in, and this doesn't have to do with the HomePod, but I've noticed with the new version of iOS and especially the HomePods Pro, but all my the AirPods and the AirPods Pro, but I think with Siri too, the idea of handing off things, of intelligently just recognizing what you may want to use, the device you want to use, what's playing. I'm kind of anxious to see how HomePod and HomePod Mini figures into this. Because I feel like, once again, it's that whole Apple ecosystem that we all tend to evaluate the products individually. And there's something to be said for stepping back and saying, okay, how does this all integrate? How well does it integrate together? And I feel like that is just a constant state of improvement. It's not great right now. It's getting better. It's a lot better now. And I have to wonder if this is going to take it to another level, because the new HomePod Mini will allow it to know where you are, and theoretically, hopefully, pick up things a little bit easier if you're speaking just into the air. Although, I don't know about you guys, but my HomePods hear me even when I don't want them to hear me.
Yeah, so they do for me too. They just talked about the new intercom system that's part of the HomePod Mini, where it's actually going to create an intercom that will actually allow you to be able to talk around your whole house, as well as in your car and anywhere, and through Siri, and being able to talk through this. This is really cool.
Through your phone and your watch too.
And your phone and your watch as well, and your iPad. Yeah. So they really, and then they said this is an Apple only thing, having intercom type system for personal requests.
So no more sending text messages to my wife from the basement to the second floor? Is that what you're saying?
You could say, "Hey, S lady, tell my wife to do this."
I love it, S lady.
And your wife will say, "Forget it, no way."
Forget it.
Yeah, she already does that. So it's just a more high-tech way of doing what's already happening.
And it's official, $99.
$99. Yep.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a good price point. Now, I have to say, I've never had a smart speaker from anybody. And just this morning, I added an Echo Dot to my cart on Amazon, only for one reason. One reason. And I haven't fulfilled the order yet. I haven't completed it. For one reason, they also have on special for Prime Day a Mickey Mouse Echo-enabled wall clock. And to be able to, the only way you can control the clock is with an Echo Dot, conveniently for Amazon. And it's got a timer built into it. So if you set a timer, you can see the little timer dots moving around the clock, which I know they have on other models, but this is a Mickey Mouse wall clock. So I'm very, very tempted to complete that order, especially since the Echo Dot is also on sale for only $20.
Right.
But I just, that, that's the only purpose I have for the Echo Dot then. With everything being built into my phone, not only, well, I don't have Alexa on it, actually. Not only Alexa, but Siri and also Google Assistant. I have not felt the need to have a smart speaker in my house.
Mike, I'd like to issue an invitation to you to come on my show and talk about your priorities.
Oh, I'd love to. I already have. I'm sure I've already talked about my priorities on your show before.
I don't recall the Mickey Mouse wall clock being amongst your priorities, but I'd like to examine this a little more deeply.
I only just learned of it today.
Oh.
Had I known of it before, it may very well have been discussed on your show. You never know.
So because of its existence, you have reordered your priorities.
I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could have told you that.
Why do you think I got an Apple Watch?
The Mickey Mouse
face.
Oh, God. Next
That's
time on
it.
Mac Voices, folks. Wow.
Here's the question.
Do you know, Chuck, you really don't know Mike at all, because that didn't surprise me one little bit.
Me either, actually.
Apparently not. And now I'm questioning whether I want to, Gaz.
Well, that's a fair shout.
You
do make us smile, Mike. You do make us smile.
I can be just as easily swayed to a HomePod if Apple were to release its own Mickey Mouse wall clock. They could do one better. This is not a very impressive wall clock, I'll have to admit. It does one thing well, and that is it has the timer feature and it tells the time with two, gloved hands. That's it. That's all it does. It's not terribly impressive. So Apple could sway me if they announced today a much more advanced Mickey Mouse wall clock. I'll be waiting for that. I'll be waiting for that.
I feel somewhere out there that there's someone that makes an iPad version of a clock full screen that, would be a Mickey Mouse controlled, that you could just hang the iPad on your wall. And
well, for, $300 to hang an iPad on my wall is a little much. I can handle $30 for the Echo enabled clock. I can't quite handle 300. There we go.
They moved on to the iPhone. Tim Cook came on stage, and that they said this is an amazing moment. They've announced 5G in the iPhone. And
5G has been the big thing on everyone's wagging tongues, hasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And yet 5G is not terribly well deployed in the United States.
No, it's like 3G back in the day. It's you wonder. I mean, it'll still probably be another year or two before it's really worth it.
Well, it's interesting. You can look at this two ways. You can look at it as Apple was trying to get ahead of the curve, or you can look at it as Apple is putting this out there. It's not going to hurt them at all, and it's a great talking point. Or conversely, it's a talking point that nobody can use against them because they're not including 5G.
Right. Yeah. And the other handset makers are including 5G, and I think some of them already have it. So, yeah, I think it's something that they probably feel they need to do too.
Well, the CEO of Verizon came on stage, and they maintain their social distance, as CEOs do, and he's spouting off all the stuff with Verizon and the 5G capacity, which Verizon I think was behind on 5G, if I'm not mistaken. AT&T and T-Mobile are way ahead. So I guess Verizon's finally jumping into this and getting it done.
They were socially distanced, folks.
Yes, they were.
Were they actually in the same room though?
I
Yes,
Or
they're on.
it appeared to me to be virtual.
Oh no, they're in the Steve Jobs Theater and they're on stage.
Both of them were.
They were.
Okay.
They're more than 6 feet apart though.
When I saw him walk on, it looked like it was a green screen type thing to me.
When I keep hearing different things about 5G, though. Obviously, it's got to be rolled out for everywhere because it's going to be no good for us. I think we're possibly just on the verge, just on the edge of areas where it might start kicking in. But there are still many, many places that even struggle with 3G. Certainly, probably in your country, but definitely in this country. So there's quite a big group of people that are not going to go for the 5G. But of course, there's probably a big enough group of people in the cities where 5G will be used, will go for the phone. But I'm just wondering whether 5G is really that big a sell. Now the networks are going to try and sell it because obviously they're going to be putting a lot of investment into the network. But I keep hearing that it's more useful for the Internet of Things. I keep hearing that it doesn't get through walls as well as 4G, and nobody's sold me yet, apart from speed, which actually I'm quite happy with the speed I've got on my 4G. Nobody's sold me yet as to really what the advantages are.
Yeah, I feel as if 5G really holds the most promise for deployment in homes as the primary means by which people get internet into the home.
Okay.
I feel that's the biggest promise. I really don't see that big of an advantage having it on my phone. But I could see, in light of the airports and other, wireless devices going away, I could see Apple getting into this game and releasing a device that allows you to bring 5G into the home. They may just leave that to Verizon and AT&T and to the others, but I could see them bringing in a device like that not only integrates Siri, or the S lady, as Dave likes to call her, Siri, HomePod, a number of their different technologies, all being brought into the house in a single or a grouping of devices to make it truly an integrated, as Chuck was saying earlier, an integrated Apple ecosystem within the home, all linked to a wireless carrier that's providing 5G, high-speed 5G service to the home.
Yeah, I think you're totally right about that.
Well, they just announced that 5G is going to be across the entire iPhone 12 line. So there you go. That means that they're not going to be any, I'm buying this, but I'll have to get rid of it later. This is the 5G transition we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is great. What was I going to say? I think you're totally right about that, Mike, that it being for the home. The other thing that I would like to see, kind of living in a congested area or being in areas where it's congested, not so much now, but has been, that it has better coverage. I mean, at a stadium or at Disneyland or something like that, it seems like you can have great signal strength, but the data, things move slowly because there's so many people using it. And I think 5G, one of the promises too of that is that that's supposed to get better.
Yeah, Eric, that is certainly that. Thinking it through, that is one of the advantages I have picked up on. So, but at this point in time, we don't do a lot of that. But that's by the by. We hopefully will get back to that. Certainly, one of the events that I go to on a regular basis is the Grand Prix, and you've got no chance when there's a stand full of thousands of people around you. Don't even think about trying to upload or download anything. So
no.
I mean, and that was what Verizon was really. That was what Verizon was really pushing, especially with NFL and the football, setting up ways of all the stadiums having this ultra wideband, being able to do that kind of stuff and be able to watch video live. So it's coming.
The biggest failing of 5G, of course, is that its deployment is very narrow. You're looking at large cities. You're looking at, to your point, you are looking at more congested areas. But once you get out into rural areas, it's almost non-existent, and probably will be non-existent for quite some time.
I suppose, Mike, then that you've got to make the choice. The phone's got the capability, and then you've got to make a choice as to whether you go down, because you can still get contracts which will, I think, only be 4G. Or 3G,
oh, sure.
Even.
Oh, yeah.
So then you've just got to make the right choice for yourself as to how much use you're going to get out of it.
I don't know about that. I think all the carriers, at least I hear, are gonna offer 5G at no additional cost.
Whoa. Well, yeah, okay. We'll wait and see on that one.
No, that's
calm
what
down,
I-
guys. Calm down.
That's what I heard anyway.
Well, keep our
But you know,
fingers crossed.
even if 5G is deployed primarily in those congested areas, I mean that automatically makes it a better experience for the user, and gives you a good reason to upgrade the iPhone. And I recognize right now we're all in lockdown, and we have that issue, but that's not going to last forever by any means. And even now, we're seeing some limitations ease up, and you're going back into those environments. So if that's the place that it gets deployed first, hey, that's great, because that just evens out the experience. Gaz, it'll let you do some uploading and downloading at the next race that you go to.
Yeah.
Well,
If
more
he gets the iPhone 12.
if he gets the iPhone 12. More to what I was working towards, though, is that with 5G's limited deployment, the biggest competitor to home deployment that I was talking about earlier are these microsatellite services that are in the process of launching satellites now and working toward deployment to residential usage within probably the next 6 to 9 months, something like that. I'm curious to see if Apple and some of the other cell phone manufacturers will start to build the capabilities to communicate with the satellite networks into their devices.
So the phone itself, have they gone back to the iPhone 5 modeling?
Yeah, it's now more of a squared off shape instead of rounded like the iPhones have been in the past. So, and then they
which was a very popular shape, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was. Yeah.
and they're offering 5 different colors across the line too.
But keep in mind, everything we've seen so far is just iPhone 12, not iPhone 12 Pro.
Yeah.
Right.
Does everybody here, did they like the older iPhone 5 type style versus the newer, the ones that's been, since 6 on?
Eric, I like a version which doesn't slip out of my hand.
Yeah, that's true.
And I usually put a case on mine, so I eliminate Gaz's problem. And it also sort of eliminates the question of which you like.
Yeah.
With a case, you're going to, no matter how you do it, you're going to get a little more of an edge.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage of the flatter glass screened iPhone 5 style and presumably the iPhone 12 style it is, and I'm not joking when I say this, is the fact that glass screen protectors cover edge to edge, which is something that we don't have right now. With the rounded edges of the glass screen, you can't cover it edge to edge. And so there's always a risk of the phone land, because I've dropped mine, fortunately not very frequently, but the one time I did drop it and was truly worried that something had happened to my screen, it landed glass side down on a rock. And fortunately for me, the glass screen protector protected the iPhone screen underneath it, but had it landed on an edge or something like that, it probably would have shattered the iPhone screen. So being able to go edge to edge with the glass screen protectors is huge to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, they just announced that the A14 Bionic chip is going to be in the iPhone 12.
Ooh, and we're going to the secret chip lab.
Yeah, that was the. I think that was the secret, the 5G lab. The anitronic chamber, it's called.
Yeah, the previous right. The with the noise cancel or the foam.
For 5G,
yeah.
Okay, we're in the secret chip lab. Everybody look at what's on the desks, because that's where all the secrets are.
Yeah. The new iMac silicon.
We're seeing the consistency with their presentations. They're going into the secret labs now. The last few presentations.
Yeah, it's the replacement for Johnny, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
We haven't just got Johnny. We've got a lab as well. In fact, we haven't got Johnny anymore.
We got rid of Johnny. We have all these nice labs.
I see a a Mac Pro on wheels on the floor.
Yeah.
It's got a Raspberry Pi connected to it to roll it around.
It's under each lab table. The Mac Pro.
You know, you joke, Gary, but I saw a very fascinating project. I think I was telling Eric about this. A very fascinating project where someone took the guts out of an older iMac that can no longer be updated, took the guts out of it, replaced it with a Raspberry Pi, and interfaced with the LCD panel of the old iMac. There's a special interface kit you can purchase for it so that you can drive the display of an old iMac with a Raspberry Pi and run a modern operating system on it. It was very fascinating.
How old was that? Because I have an old G5 iMac.
I believe it would work with that.
Oh, no, you get that. I think Mrs. Gaz is not going to be very happy with me if I say I'm not going to get rid of it. I've got a plan. I've got a project.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been asking me to move it and get rid of it for some time now.
I heard that. Yes. Or I should say I watched that. I watched it on the MyMac YouTube channel.
Gaz, don't worry. You'll be out of the hospital by the next Apple announcement, I'm sure.
Yeah, and everything will be gone then, Chuck. So they've just gone through a lot of the tech specs of the 12. We haven't moved on to any of the versions yet. And now we're moving on to games. Interesting ploy.
So for to show how the power of the A14 Bionic chip
I was just thinking of something else which is going on in the background at the moment. So who is this? Is this company called Riot? Did they say?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Don't get too entrenched. You'll only get upset with fees eventually.
That's right.
You won't want to pay your 3%. And yeah.
The thing about the game demos, I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
You know, I'm not a gamer. I will never play this game. This is probably the only time I will ever see it. Yeah. But A, it's gorgeous, and B, the detail and the rendering. I mean, you know, from a technical standpoint, you have to appreciate that.
Yeah, it is just amazing. It is, when you think about it, from the video games I grew up as a kid, and you look at this and it's on a little phone. It's just amazing.
When you think about it, gaming is really the best way to show off the power of this processor.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know, you're not going to sit there showing off someone editing a video for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and recalculating a spreadsheet just doesn't have the same panache. Yeah,
especially on a phone screen.
Yeah,
6.7 inch or otherwise, it just doesn't have the same impact.
Well, I don't know. I like watching spreadsheets, you know, recalculate, and, you know, like a nice pivot table or something like that. That would be neat.
There's
Eric.
Your next guest, Chuck.
Eric.
That will be the shortest episode of Mac Voices ever. Hello, Eric. Yes, nice to have you. Thanks for being here. See you next time.
Pivot tables, pivot tables, pivot tables.
Yeah. I'll put a little echo on that to make it sound better.
So they've moved from the games onto the camera. Now, did I pick up there that's the same as the previous camera?
Well, they put the ultra wide and wide lenses now in the iPhone 12.
I mean, they're going through some improvements to glass, but
right. The improved performance with the processor.
Yeah.
They made some sort of they made some sort of detail that said it's the first 7-element lens. So I don't know if that's because they've included, do they put both the wide angle and the zoom in the same lens, or?
No, I don't think so. I think we're still going to see that it's just got the ultra wide and the wide. So the zoom will be on the Pro, won't it?
Yeah.
This is other big announcement is they put night mode. Night mode is going to be across all iPhone 12 models. It just said, because if you remember before, only the Pros had the night mode.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you use night mode, but I kind of we go out for quite an early morning walk and sometimes some evening walks, and I've taken pictures of the night sky as well with the phone, and I am blown away every time I use it.
Yep.
Absolutely blown away.
Yeah, it's great. It really is.
You still have to hold your phone still, but
Oh yeah.
it's incredible.
Mars, by the way, has been beautiful in the night sky the last few nights.
It has.
Oh my!
Well,
Yes.
look at that night mode time lapse.
Time lapse.
That.
Yeah.
Just that fitting what you just described, because you could be watching the sun go up and the stars in time lapse.
There's Vegas.
Oh, I miss Vegas.
Now, wide and ultra wide are obviously important for a phone. I did not see go by, and maybe it hasn't yet. What is the optical zoom of an iPhone? Or iPhone 12, if they mentioned it.
They did not.
I don't think they mentioned it.
I haven't mentioned that yet. I think that'll be on the Pro, Mike. It's not on this, dare I call it, standard version?
So the standard version, to quote Gary, the standard version is all digital zoom.
Well, yeah, I mean, all of the phones, I think even the 12 Pro, when it comes out, will have a zoom, and then you'll still have digital beyond.
Right.
I think it's like the zoom is pretty much, the optical is like 56 millimeter. It's right around the normal lens or whatever, or about what
like
your
a portrait
eye
lens. Yeah.
Oh, look at that magnetic charging. They just announced that, and one with a business card holder, MagSafe.
They removed it from the MacBooks and they put it on the iPhone. Although it's a little different.
Yeah, just a little.
I was thinking I would really love to see it come back to the MacBook, and they don't have to use one of the USB-C ports or Thunderbolt ports, however you wish to call them. It could be simply a spot on the case that the charger snaps onto to magnetically charge it.
Well, the magnet is built inside the iPhone, as they're showing here.
Yeah, I think, yes, they're utilizing it in a slightly different way, aren't they?
Yep.
So this isn't for a cable, quick snap cable, I don't think, Mike. This is for...
No, I was talking about the Mac. I would love to see it come to the Mac in that form without needing to take away one of the ports.
Yeah, sorry. So I assume what they're putting on here is so that obviously whatever the charge you've got goes into exactly the right spot.
Right.
So
similar to the watch.
This has now created a whole new ecosystem in MagSafe chargers.
Yeah, isn't that the truth, David? Everything else now that's not magnetic is going to look old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wonder if this is leading to, the rumored, and it's like I refuse to believe this, but the idea that they won't have any ports for cables, like rather than going to USB-C or something down the line, that just will get rid of it altogether. Because I wouldn't have been able to see how they could do that, but now with this magnetic thing, it does make it a little bit more doable.
This is going to be a huge accessory market. Oh my gosh. They already mentioned Belkin's already developing one, and I'm sure Apple's going to have one for them that they're making too.
Which kind of goes totally against that old process, because now all they're going to be doing is producing a whole load more of a device which is peculiar to the iPhone. So rather than having a specific charger, you're going to now have your MagSafe charger.
MagSafe charger, yeah.
We've just moved from one arena into another arena.
Right.
So my point there is, in 5 years, watch the EU come out and say, no, you've got to have a standard process.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? So Lisa Jackson is now on the roof of the spaceship.
Quite literally.
Talking about carbon neutral at all stores and corporate.
It also gives you an idea of how big that building really is.
Oh my gosh.
Enormous.
What makes it mag safe? In other words, with the MacBook, when we had MagSafe, the idea was when you tripped on the cable, you're not pulling your MacBook onto the floor. What makes this MagSafe? If I have one of those cool stands they were just showing, which are pretty cool, by the way, but if I have one of those cool stands and I knock my phone's going to go onto the floor. Why safe? Did you guys catch that?
Well, the only thing that I can think that made it safe was the fact that you can put a credit card in the back as well. Because that's been, with magnets and credit cards, that's often been a bit of a no-no, hasn't it?
So I can set it on my stack of floppy disks.
Well, and the other thing...
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend that. Sorry, Chuck.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Gaz. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say I wouldn't recommend putting it on all your floppy disks, Mike.
No, the other thing I think, Mike, is, and they mentioned it, that, with the flat chargers, placing your phone on it, you didn't always get it on there right. Yeah. And so it could result in less charge or no charge if you didn't have it centered. This prevents that. This says that it'll automatically go right on the right way, the right place every time.
So same term, just a different concept for what it applies to.
Right.
In other words, MagSafe takes on a different meaning here in terms of you're safely putting it onto the charger and
the woman
getting
who
your
introduced
charge.
The woman who introduced it did say MagSafe for iPhone.
Right.
Oh yeah,
gotcha.
It was a word they already had trademarked.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
I get
they didn't want to have to come up with a new term.
Right.
So this was interesting. You wonder why she was out, why they spun off of the iPhone, talking about the iPhone, all of a sudden talking about being the carbon neutral. The whole intent was to tell people we're no longer including the power adapter in the box. There's over 2 billion power adapters that are out there, but from Apple, we want to reduce that. Yeah. So that was the whole reason why they brought it in here to talk that.
James Bond music.
Oh, wonder what they paid for that. Wow.
Secret case here, a double case.
I suspect whatever it costs, Chuck, doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh, the iPhone inside the cases.
Well,
it's the Mini.
I was just going to say that
was good. I like that.
I was going to say that's a lot of packaging.
Yeah,
that was a great intro. Super Retina.
Ooh.
5.4 inch.
Yeah, it's 5.4 inch, but it's basically the size of a 4.7.
There's two sizes of the iPhone Mini. Okay, so the original rumors were just one. So there's two sizes of the iPhone Mini: 4.7 inch and 5.4 inch.
You sure the 5.4 is the Mini, David, or is that the?
Oh no, is that the
5.4
and 6.1?
I had thought the way she presented that. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think what they were doing was showing the old screen of a 4.7.
So I'm sorry. It's the Mini is a 5.4 inch. They're not doing a 4.7 anymore.
Yeah, and they're just showing you the size difference on the screen available.
And I think it's probably the same physical size as a 4.7, but the screen's bigger, something like that.
Yeah.
And not being a smaller iPhone user or a lower model iPhone user, but these all have Face ID. Were there any phones that still had Touch ID left?
The SE.
I thought so.
SE.
Yeah, the SE is Touch ID, I think. Yeah.
Okay, well these are all the 12s so far are Face ID.
They're sticking with Face ID.
Yeah, that's interesting. They didn't put the they didn't try to do the same thing they did with the iPad Air with the fingerprint ID and the Touch ID on the sleep awake button.
Yeah, why didn't they do that? That would be a nice addition. Maybe in the Pro or the Max. Pro Max, Max Pro, Pro Max. Perhaps in that model.
Yeah, they're talking about the ceramic shield and resistant. It's one click while clicking.
Ooh, they've made a statement: the world's smallest 5G phone.
Yep.
That'll be interesting too. How the battery life and everything goes with that, because I've heard that 5G is a big drain, and I've read where other handset makers have had to basically make their phones bigger to create bigger battery to handle 5G. So it'll be interesting to see how their phones deal with it.
$699,
Very
$799.
A very special offer with Verizon. Ooh, $15 a month for 24 months. So they're partnering up with Verizon with some financing deals.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, any way you take it, that's very impressive.
It is.
One thing we did miss inside the box now is going to be a Lightning to USB-C cable. So that's kind of sad that they still haven't switched it off to USB-C. So it's still Lightning.
You kind of wonder why at this point, is it just something that they refuse to do, or they, I guess, it's not a big deal one way or the other, but it's kind of weird that they haven't done that.
We're just at half the story. Now it's the Pro line. As Tim,
which makes you wonder about the USB-C on the Pro line, because that feels like a phone you would want to move more and more data from.
Think of that.
Yes.
Just to kind of go back to the Mini for just a second here, as a point of reference, I know all of you are much more advanced in terms of your iPhones than I am. I have an 8 Plus. My 8 Plus is a 5.5 inch screen. So just a point of reference there. You're getting a larger screen in the Mini than the 8 Plus.
Yeah, that's true.
The 11 Pro, I think, was 6.1.
Correct.
Which draws.
Now, what was the 12 in the specs that went by?
5.4.
The 12 is 5.4?
That was a Mini, right?
They didn't put any specs up, so it's...
Didn't they just say the Mini was 5.7?
Okay, so what they said is it's smaller than the... so I say it's smaller than the 4.7, but has a bigger screen. Just trying to see if I can flip through to see if I can get a screen size. I think it was 5.4.
If it's 5.4, then it's smaller than the 8 Plus. I thought it was 5.7.
It's 5.4.
Okay, 5.4. All right, so it's 0.1 inch smaller than the 8 Plus in a more compact form factor.
Yeah.
So they're making it all pretty with all the MagSafe stuff, and
I do like the blue.
I want that. That's the one I'm going to get, Pacific Blue.
Yeah,
I'm already sold.
I know. It's not the same thing.
It's all about color, isn't it?
I haven't seen the blue go
the
by.
Mountain green on the 11 Pro Max. So
is that the same as the iPad blue from last month?
It looks a little darker, actually.
I'm going from 6.5 to 6.7 inches on the Pro Max.
Wow.
Beastly. And look, the notch is smaller too.
And the 6.5 in my hand is really, that's almost too big.
Well, a lot of people say that. I just love having a big device.
I do too.
It's just me.
But it is a little tough to one-hand it at different times. But yeah, no, I do love having the big screen.
Yeah, talking about the Deep Fusion Neutral Engine. Neutral Engine's been a big topic of conversation, just how it's made some unprecedented changes to its processing.
Yeah, they're talking about the image signal processor,
right?
The way that they can. Wow, that's it. Do we know? Does the iPhone 12? Is this just an iPhone 12 Pro thing that has the image signal processor?
No, they're doing all four cameras. All four cameras as far as the Deep Fusion they're just talking about, but it is an A12 Fusion. A14 Fusion is I'm sorry, A14 Bionic is going to be off all four lines.
Right. But it did look like, I suppose the A14 Bionic's going to be the same no matter what. But it did look they were singling out this part of it that was showed the image signal, chip, and I didn't know if that was something that was part of it. Telephoto 2.0.
Yeah, 52 millimeter telephoto. Wow. 2.0 aperture for a telephoto. That's impressive.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Because most standard a lot of telephotos are going to be like at probably 3, 3.5, 4.
Yeah, especially in the SLR world, they get really expensive when you get down to below 3.
Yeah.
God. So it looks like the iPhone Pro 12 Plus is going to have a different, better something in camera.
Yeah, looks like
so
best camera ever.
Well, oh wow, a brand new 65 millimeter.
65 millimeter. Oh my lord!
So moving from 52 to 65. Okay.
5. Wow.
Now that just told me which phone I'm going to get.
Yeah.
That's the Max,
so
though.
You can optically zoom from 52 to 65.
Was that just the
so
Max?
It's all in one lens.
Yeah, this is just the Max.
Oh, you're consider it just because of the camera. That's great. 1.6 on the wide. Holy wow!
And it's got the 7-element lens or whatever they were talking about as well.
Yeah, with a new sensor.
That's an interesting point, Dave. You just said you're choosing the new phone based on the camera. How unusual is that these days, though? I think a lot of people make that choice based on the camera.
I made the choice of the Max before we even found out about this, so I think that was Chuck.
Yeah, that was my comment, and yeah, because I mean we'll see what the price differential is. I prefer the smaller size, but I've had the larger size, and it's not horrible. And you get that one chance to take that one or two pictures. I want the best thing in my pocket I can have.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, who needs a DSLR? It's getting to that point, really.
Yeah.
More and more, that becomes the differentiator. Why would I purchase the 12 over the 11, over the 10, over the 8? And more frequently, the answer is the camera.
Yeah. Well, and that certainly was the case, I think, with the iPhone 11.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just, I think that's an interesting point, Mike. I mean, for me, it's a differentiator. It's not the only reason, but it helps drive the decision.
It's a big driver if you're thinking about getting the camera. Because do you spend the money on getting the camera, or will this cover your needs? To your point, Chuck, it's the device that you'll have with you most of the time. And if it can take those great shots, which they've proved time and time again it can, it can't do everything a DSLR or an SLR can do. But, I've kind of been wondering whether I actually go back to getting a camera, because I'm looking at a possibility of getting a mirrorless camera. And that's why I stopped last year to go to the 11. And I've not looked back. So I'm just wondering whether I need to go on again, or whether I hold. That's another reason why it's a big decision point for me, the camera choice. So I agree with you. It is just one for many people. It's just one of many consideration points. But I think the camera is becoming a bigger and bigger choice point for people.
This could even lean it too. Is they just announced Apple Pro RAW, where you're going to be able to shoot RAW using computational photography to get even more photos. This is a sneak peek they're showing right now that it's going to be released later. They said this year.
So Apple came out with their own version of RAW.
Their own version of RAW that would be only for the Pro and the Pro Max. Wow.
And I'm sure we have the potential to get emails about this, but I look at this and I say, okay, why Apple's putting so much in computational photography here? The camera manufacturers don't seem to be. And I'm not a student of the camera industry right now, but it seems like Apple is light years ahead of this, because they have a computer that happens to have a camera on it, as opposed to a camera happening to have a computer on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure I totally agree with that, Chuck, if I'm honest. I think they're coming at it from a completely different angle, which makes it look like they're doing a lot of that stuff. Whereas a lot of the cameras now, they can do so much more. Because I've been just keeping my eye on the mirrorless camera market, and they are jumping forward by leaps and bounds themselves by using more computational within the cameras. Whereas the biggest piece to having these cameras, though, is because it's with you all the time. And if these can make great photographs, it's when you start seeing professionals using more and more for a phone as a camera,
Right.
then
Right.
and we are starting to see that, but it's not an everyday occurrence. You know, if you just do a search around YouTube, you see very few professional photographers just using a phone. But I tell you what, they do have the phone as a secondary item, and that just swings me completely.
Was I going to say, the other thing with the computational photography versus some of the bigger cameras like the SLR, one of the things, and I think it kind of led to it, is that the SLRs, obviously with their bigger lenses, they do things just because of the lens where, like, let's say like portrait mode, Apple has to, I don't want to say fake it, but they're using two lenses there as well, but they have to kind of produce that portrait effect where it just, an SLR camera with a 50 millimeter lens with a big aperture could do that all by itself without any computational anything. It can create this shallow depth of field that, the phone can't do.
It's also the sensors in the background. That's a big piece. It's not all about megapixels. It's
right.
The size of those megapixels as well, and that's a big differential still.
Yeah, that's a huge thing too. Yeah, you're talking about a 30. Like my Canon EOS R's got a 30 megapixel sensor.
But at the risk of being argumentative with you guys, there's another point that I didn't hear you say. If you did, I missed it. Sorry. I'm drooling over the HDR video.
Me too.
But you're okay. The digital DSLRs are going that way. That's great. I'm kind of glad to hear that. But that's not my point and shoot. That's not even my mid-level point and shoot. And my phone is. And yet I have the computational photography option there. And so, that to me is a differentiator, because if I'm a serious photographer, maybe I'll go and buy that, $800 or $900 camera. But if I'm not, I can get everywhere I want to be and even more with my phone.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you, Chuck. And that's why it's one of my reasons as to whether I stick with the phone over going out and also getting a camera to do that stuff, which is, I target myself to do it, to take those photographs, because I certainly don't carry my camera around with me all the time, except I do with my phone.
Right.
So I totally agree with you. Totally agree.
Right. I mean, a good segue, them that's talking about video, having all these TV shows and movie producers, and they're all using, they've been using iPhones to do their productions, and that's happening more and more. And with HDR, which HDR now available with the video that they just announced here, it's even more incredible at being a video device.
Absolutely. I captured a 3 or 4 second video of a Hercules doing a really low fly past our garden just the other day. I'll send you a link so you can all see it. And the quality of it was superb. I was inside through a window, which it had been raining outside, but the quality is, and I just had my phone with me and I just got onto the camera as quickly as I could, took the shot. Superb. Totally agree.
Yeah, I saw that, Gaz. That was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But to be fair, videography and photography are two entirely different things. Sure. Being able to shoot 4K video with a phone versus 4K video with a digital video camera is a lot different than being able to shoot what is ultimately portrait or distance-based wide-angle photography with what is, as you pointed out, a point-and-shoot camera in your pocket versus a DSLR or, a mirrorless camera. It all boils down to the type of photography you're aiming for. If you're shooting casual, out-of-the-pocket type photos, the phone is more than adequate. But if you want to push anything beyond that 50 to 60 millimeter type photography that you're getting with the camera or with the phone, you have to go with a DSLR. You're not going to get a crisp, clear shot from a distance like you can with a 300 millimeter lens tacked on to a DSLR. You just can't do it with a phone in your pocket. So it all depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Are you trying to zoom in on that bird in the tree, or are you trying to take a picture of a tent in the desert? Yeah. You know,
right.
I haven't seen anything go by here in their demo that you can't accomplish with a 50 to 60 millimeter lens.
Right.
But if you show me something that you can accomplish with a 250 or 300 millimeter lens, now we're starting to get impressive with that phone in your pocket. But I just don't think we're going to have that. So, for most folks, most people, this is more than adequate. Absolutely. Completely agree. And that's why the point and shoot camera industry has all but died. Except for the pocket ones from Polaroid.
Haven't
and
Samsung
like
come out with something which has got a mightily powerful zoom on it?
I have not seen any phone camera that can match what you can get with an all glass lens from a DSLR.
No, I agree with you. Glass is always going to be best, but I'm pretty sure they come out with something, and I've seen somebody who did a demo, and the question I had in my mind, and he couldn't answer it, was how much of that zoom that you've just showed me, which was incredible. What I want to know is how much is the clever algorithm replacing stuff, and it's doing the digital bit. But then the question is, how much do we care?
Yeah, well, it's definitely. I mean, it's photography. They're definitely pushing this stuff, and it's probably in 5-10 years it'll be even different yet than what we had, and probably I think it's already kind of happened where with the smaller devices where Steve Jobs said PCs are the desktop machine is a truck. I kind of think that's sort of the case with these bigger cameras anyway. For most people, they can get what they want out of their phone, and what's amazing about it is that it's gotten even better. It's not even just like adequate. It's the phone is now doing stuff that we never thought possible. We just wouldn't even considered you would have only done with an SLR previously, and now with the ability to do this, but at the same time, I don't think it'll ever match the ability to be able to change lenses as well as the output and the sensors. I mean, take a 30 megapixel sensor or bigger, take a huge 8K video or whatever, but the professionals use to bring in the most amount of data so that they can produce a great 4K movie or whatever. I think it's a ways away before the phone's going to be able to do anything like that, but it's still really freaking awesome.
Even an 18 megapixel DSLR, Eric. I mean, I have seen photos come out of an iPhone 11 where I can see that computational aspect of the picture that was taken, and you just don't see that with a DSLR, and that's fine. To Chuck's point, who's going to care? Well, some people do care, and those are the folks who are going to be using the DSLRs. And some folks just want that. Look, let's go back to the 70s. The people who didn't care that much about the photos and more just wanted to capture the memory had a Polaroid Instamatic. Yeah. And those who did care about the detail of the photo had something else. They had a Hasselblad or something like that, Yeah. But if you shot with a 110 or a 126 or a Polaroid, your interest was more in capturing the memory. And I think for the majority of people, to your point, Eric, the majority of the people, it's about capturing the memories and not about capturing the detail or the intricacies of the photo. And the people who are worried about capturing the intricacies of the photo or want to do something more with that photo, maybe they want to take that 18 to 30 megapixel photo and crop it down and still print it out at 8x10 and have it crisp and clear. That's where you're going to be shooting with a DSLR and not a phone.
Right. So Gary, have you changed, or do you think you'll get a iPhone 12 now, or is anything?
No, it's not. It's no, because I don't think that the jump is big enough for me to spend the money. They're keeping the prices the same. They've just gone through. We've talked quite a lot over the LiDAR, which they've just been speaking about.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how much that's going to, give me an advantage. I'm sure there will be stuff in there. I'm not sure. To be honest with you, Eric, the biggest thing for me is still the size. I like a phone to be really portable. So my biggest question in my mind is, do I go for the iPhone 12 mini or do I not buy one at all? That's the question I've got rattling around in my head at the moment. And I know you guys are going to be jumping on going, and going for the 12 Pro, which is what I, ultimately, if I had all of the cash, I'd just go for it and say, I'm going to go for that 12 Pro and do my usual with the phones going down the line. But I'm really not sure, because this is a cracking phone, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm really on the fence still.
Yeah. Just to follow up on something previous, they just showed the graphic of the iPhone line, and the SE is still in the product line.
And so is 10R.
Yeah, that's right. That was too.
It's $399 for the SE, $499 for the 10R, and 11 is still there starting at $599. 12 will start at $699, and the 12 Pro will start at $999.
So they have a phone at every level, price level. Interesting.
And the 10R has been quite a mainstay.
10R is a great phone.
It is. I have it as my developer and test unit, so it's been a great phone.
Gaz, some advice on the phone? Ask your wife.
That's right.
Well, I won't be buying
from the
one
tower,
then, Chuck.
I mean, I'm sure she'll have something to say about it one way or the other. You might as well get it out of the way now.
Yeah.
Here's another thing to consider, guys. If you don't get the phone now, and like you said, you kind of push it down the line, how long is it going to be before one of those people wants to get a new phone, and now you missed your thing, because now they're getting new phones, and
I've got that doesn't come into my calculation at all, Eric. If they want to go off piece, they can go off piece. I'm still going to stay on the track that I want to. I don't. If I don't get one by within the next 4 to 6 weeks, I'll probably wait until next year.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see the 11 in kind of that same place in the lineup that some of the previous models have been in years past, where if you're budget conscious, you probably should look at the 10R. If you're not terribly budget conscious, you should look at the 12. So who's buying the 11? If you're going out and buying an iPhone, right? Well, what was it, November 17th or whatever the date was? If you're going out and buying one on that date, who should be buying the 11 versus the 12 or the 10R?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, the UK Apple site is back up, but they haven't got any new models on there yet.
So what are the dates officially then?
It was, I believe it was October. This Friday is the pre-order for the 12.
You can pre-order, yeah.
But they normally put
Pro is in November.
They normally put the phones on though, don't they? For even though you can't order them, but
yeah, they do.
Oh, it'll be on there. Give them time.
Yeah, but it's been down. The site's been down.
The video just finished.
No, but the point is, the site has been down. So the video's finished. I went to the UK Apple site and it's back up, but they haven't got the 12 yet. Let me see if they've got the
same in the US site.
Now, one thing, Dave, that you and I talked about just briefly the other day, but we haven't seen mentioned, the little tile trackers that we thought might be coming.
Still no AirTags. Yeah.
AirTags.
Yeah.
Apple Tile or AirTags. I've seen them referred to as both. Yeah. Is this something? I know we asked this about a number of different Apple products in years past, and the answer always almost seems to be yes. But is something like the AirTags or Apple Tile needed? Do we need that in our lives?
Not necessarily. Maybe
my wife does.
Yeah,
your wife does. Yeah. But has she looked at the tiles?
No, and of course she wouldn't. I would have to, but I don't know.
You're sewing them in all of her clothes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The keys.
It's like when we used to have our name written in our underwear. Now there's a tile sewn into our underwear.
Exactly.
On the back of that, Mike, though, isn't it a great little spine device?
It really is, isn't it? It really
so you're
is.
Concerned about where? So, Mike, you're concerned about where you're leaving your underwear? Is that what I heard you say?
That's why I put my name in every pair. No, I don't.
Okay, I'm just
Boy,
sorry.
Everyone knows the Batman underoos are mine.
Not
But
everyone.
you know what? But I think that you ask an interesting question, and
Yeah.
from what I understand of the Apple, now see, here we go. We're talking about something I hate, and that is an unannounced Apple product.
Right.
But if you go with what has been published about it, it looks like it will use both Wi-Fi and the iPhone network, if you will, of devices out there to track things.
Yeah.
The tile network, as good as it is, there's no way it can possibly rival an Apple iPhone network.
Right.
So you're
Right.
going to have a lot better results for something that if we attach it to your beloved DSLR, Mike, we're going to have a lot better chance of finding that DSLR than you would with a tile. And I've got tiles all over the place. I love them, but I do recognize that if Apple does that, they have a superior network to connect to.
Do they though? What's the percent usage of iPhones or iPhones that can communicate with these presumed hated devices? You heard it here, folks. Chuck hates all unannounced Apple products.
Well, but yeah.
No, but what
Until they're announced.
what is the Apple network that you're referring to compared to competing devices?
Well, but
What is the percentage?
The tile, right?
Well, you would think that I would think that any device that can support Find My would be able to report back on what's around it.
Right.
Now see, this is why I hate talking about unannounced products, because we don't know these details.
We don't know.
But if I have a device that can locate itself, it can probably locate anything that has an AirTag and send that information back. Information encrypted passes through my machine. I never see it, but it delivers that performance.
I think they're already doing something similar with the MacBook. If you lose your MacBook Pro or whatever, I know there's something I read a while back where it could use nearby iPhones or whatever to connect. Like if it couldn't connect itself, but it could connect through Bluetooth or something, that it could use. So somebody stole your MacBook or MacBook Pro, and they've got it, and they turned off the internet or whatever. That it could somehow still kind of report where it was through like a nearby iPhone or whatever.
Right. No, I've heard that, and I think it's an amazingly interesting concept.
Yeah.
I just wonder, how the deployment of Apple devices that are capable of communicating with these tiles or the MacBook or any other device is compared to other devices.
Well, it's probably not going to be as big as, like, let's say Android or something like that, but I think would be better than what Tile's got. I would assume, because
Tile has to use Wi-Fi is what you said, right, Chuck?
No, I think my understanding is Tile is a Bluetooth network.
Bluetooth, yeah.
Oh, it's a Bluetooth network. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's
But
far more
Apple's
Bluetooth devices out there than Apple devices.
Right, but they have to be capable. They have. I mean, think about it. If you have a Bluetooth Android phone, unless you're running, well, for that matter, or an iPhone either, unless you're running the Tile app and giving it access, it's not going to make any difference.
Oh, I see. They can't communicate over the Bluetooth network in an encrypted manner as the alleged hated Apple tiles can.
No, wait a minute. What is this hated Apple tiles?
I'm teasing you.
Of course, I know. Yeah, but yes,
okay.
That's
so getting off the hated non-announced product. So I've just refreshed the screen, and they're now there, and I'm just looking at some of the pricing. And I'd just like to mention that in the UK, you can actually buy it looks like the whole range of the new iPhones at 0% finance for over 2 years.
Right.
Mm.
Through the Apple Card.
No, well, if you just buy it online through Apple, you don't have to have a card. You can just buy it, and anybody can apply. Yeah, because I did it with the last one, and it's just there. You just basically apply for the loan, and they'll do it either online, or if you go into the store, you can do it in the store, and it takes minutes. So you can actually apply for the 0% finance over 2 years.
Oh, that's cool. That's great.
And the base model for the mini or the iPhone 12 starts at 64 gigabytes, and the base model for the Pro starts at 128.
And what is the 11 at now? 64?
What, the base model?
Yeah.
Just give me caller. Just give me 1 second.
Because that might answer my question.
64 gigabytes.
64, and it's probably only available in 64, correct?
No. The 11 is still on the site. 64, 128, 256.
Really?
And that is still available. That is still available at 0% finance in the UK.
Because that could have answered my question of who would buy the 11 or the 12 versus the 11 versus the 10R is the storage capacity. You know, I can't envision purchasing a phone with less than 256 any longer. That's what I purchased with the last one. Never, ever, ever have to worry about storage. Never have to worry about it, taking stuff off the phone. Yeah,
so the 10R is 64 and 128.
Yeah.
So that would answer that.
That answers that question. But if the 11 is still available at 256, then you start to question, well, why buy the 11 versus the 12 that also would be 256, I presume.
Or 512.
Yeah. Or 512, yeah.
Yeah.
The 11. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just don't mean to change the subject here, but the financing for in the United States is applying for the Apple Card. You get monthly installments for 24 months.
Yeah, we don't.
In the UK, you don't have the Apple Card.
The card. No.
Right. So you're getting that. That's great. You guys are getting actual financing.
Yeah.
Just no card.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's got surgical grade stainless.
Derail that topic there.
So we had the HomePod Mini. Was there a new HomePod? If there was, I missed it. I saw a lot about the Mini. Nope. So there's the new HomePod Mini. We've got the 12. We've got the 12 Pro and the 12 Max. Let's start with Chuck. What were you most impressed with today?
Oh boy, that's not fair, Mike. Because they're two such radically different products. I mean, I'm
answer both.
I have to answer both because I don't feel like either. I feel like that the HomePod Mini actually addresses a lot of concerns that I had about, and I won't have those concerns 100% addressed until I have one in my house and I'm playing music on it to see how it sounds. Yeah. But they've addressed a lot of the concerns that I had about what its place was going to be in the product structure. So I'm anxious for that. But man, everything I saw on the phone, I mean, these were not just little spec bumps. I mean, there are a lot of new capabilities here and super enhanced capabilities. So I think this is a home run on both sides.
And does that mean you'll be looking at pre-ordering one come Friday?
Yes. I'm already speccing it out right now as we speak.
Everyone's answering for you, Chuck, but I didn't hear you say yes.
Oh yes, that was a deep, sheepish yes. Yeah.
He's going Max.
But I too am on the upgrade program, so that takes a little bit of the pain out of it. It's not like I'll have to peel off that kind of money right away. I'll just pay for it over time.
Right. Yeah, that's a great program to be on.
Yep.
Especially if you want to get that new phone upgrade every year.
Well, and if you're like all of us, I mean, it's a borderline requirement if you're going to talk about it. You need to have something in hand.
Yeah.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Right. Eric, are you looking to augment your HomePod with HomePod Minis?
I don't know. I'd have to hear a little bit. Well, one question is, and it probably I know the answer, and it's probably no. But will some of this stuff that they've announced with the HomePod Mini, will they retro some of that into the HomePod? I mean, the intercom part of it and whatever, because it seems like it could be something or should be something you'd be able to do. It would be great if you could use your, the original HomePod along with the HomePod Mini. But yeah, it's the $99 price tag, I have to say, is really appealing, because that was one of the things with the HomePod. You could get, they were definitely a lot cheaper than when they first came out, and you could get some deals at different. I think Best Buy had them for $199 at one point, but they were still expensive. As I said, I think they're totally worth it. But that was an issue.
Well, as they didn't announce a new HomePod, I would be surprised if, I would be surprised and not surprised if the HomePod Minis didn't integrate with the original HomePod. It seems like they should.
Yeah, but you never know with Apple.
Yeah, you never know. Gary, we spent a lot of time talking about your likes, wants, needs, and you intimated that you wouldn't be getting a new iPhone, and yet you hinted that perhaps you might.
Well, I do.
What are you thinking?
Okay, so I like the idea of the 0% finance. It 0%. It's free money, isn't it? I mean, not that money costs very much at the moment, but it's an easier way to do it. But there is a £250 difference between getting the 128 gig 12 Pro with that extra lens, which what I'd like to do is actually go through my library now and see just how many pictures I've taken using that extra long lens, because that will be a big indication to me as to how useful it is, and then take a deep look at those. But there's a £250 difference between the two, both of which are available on 0% finance. But now the thing is, I'm swinging to the fact that 250 can get me two HomePods.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm. It sure can.
So, yeah, it's all about you pay your money and you take your choice, don't you?
I like to see Apple introducing new phones and not introducing corresponding huge price increases along with them. I think it's nice to see the 12 introduced starting at $699. Going on up to the 12 Pro is, what was it, Dave? It's like $999.
Yeah.
So we're not seeing a significant jump in price over previous year models. And it's priced well compared to the competition, which I think is nice to see too. The only standout there being the Pixel phones from Google, which are insanely low priced. But when you compare it to Samsung or you compare it to some of the other big names, we're right in line with the rest of them. And certainly $699 is something that I think a lot of folks can absorb that cost and appreciate that cost and end up with to be British for just a moment, a cracking nice phone.
And it took just an hour for them to do the show again.
Yes. We only had two product lines.
And I really appreciate that.
I think they really like this format. I'm not sure this is going to go away.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I like this format.
Yeah,
I do too.
And I know there were some pieces I saw on the web this morning about, are we going to see more of these? And it's like, this is the way to do it, because you focused on two product lines. You did it in an hour. And now for the next week or so, everything is going to be iPhone and HomePod until the next Apple event. And that presumes that there's going to be another one, as we get a little farther down. And maybe that's where AirTags would be. And that's where maybe Apple Studio would be. And maybe that's where the first Apple Silicon Mac will be. So, yeah, this is brilliant. Hey, a quick PSA for everybody. I note on the page that pre-orders for the U.S., Gary, I'm not sure this applies to you or how it translates, but pre-orders here start at 5 a.m. Pacific time on Friday, 10/16.
Which is a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful
thing. I don't like that. I don't care for that. Yeah,
I don't have to get up at midnight or 2 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the
and
old
Dave,
way.
Dave, I know you are already itching to pre-order your iPhone 12 Pro Max, the 6.7-inch with LiDAR. I think that's the only model with LiDAR, correct?
Yes.
You know, we didn't talk about that. And then
the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max both have LiDAR.
The 12 Pro does too.
So can I just jump in there very quickly on Chuck's point before we get too far away from it? So that's 1 p.m. in the UK this coming Friday. So we'll be up there.
Beautiful thing for you too.
Fully awake, ready to press the button.
You'll have to take an extended lunch.
As someone said on Twitter,
It's
sorry you left posters.
A late lunch. It's easy. I can multitask.
Now, to my question earlier on the optical zoom range, the 12 and the 12 mini are 2 times optical zoom, 4 times on the Pro, 5 times on the Pro Max. And the Pro and the Pro Max both have the LiDAR in it for faster autofocusing and low light performance and things like that, which is awesome. We already joked that you're pre-ordering yours, Dave. How about the HomePod? Are you going to be picking up those as well?
Well, I think a HomePod could be a nice Christmas gift because it's not that expensive. So
it's not that expensive.
I may put that on my Christmas list and not be crazy and go buy it right away.
I think the killer feature with the HomePod really is the intercom feature. I know other home speakers have had similar things, but I think that really is a killer feature there.
I think so too.
Well, Dave, I think that's looking like it might do it for this episode, at least this episode of For Mac Guys Only. How about In Touch with iOS? Are we wrapping things up there too?
We're wrapping up with In Touch with iOS as well.
Do you want to go ahead and do your closeout?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. That's a wrap for this week. I thank all our guests who are on the show this week. This is a great special episode of the reaction time of the Apple event. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, go to my website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. And take it away, Mike, for Mac Guys Only.
And that's going to do it for this episode of For Mac Guys Only. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Remember, I also love to get your letters, so if you have any comments about the show, a tip to share, or a software or hardware problem with your Mac, you can write to me, Mike, at formacguysonly.com. And if you would like to share your feedback with Eric, Dave, Chuck, or Gary, or anyone else on Team For Mac Guys Only, our email and social network addresses can be found on the Meet Team For Mac Guys Only page at formacguysonly.com. You can find Chuck at macvoices.com and Dave at intouchwithios.com. Oh, and Gaz at mymac.com. Wow, we are just all over the internet, aren't we? Thanks so much for listening, everyone. And thanks to all those fine fellows I just mentioned, to Dave and to Chuck and to Gary and to Eric. Thanks for joining me this episode. Stay subscribed, and we'll talk to you next time.